What did it mean to be beautiful in the Middle Ages? Well, it had nothing to do with contour palettes or Botox. From noble women plucking their hairlines to peasants wearing layers of itchy wool, medieval beauty was about more than looks. It reflected class, health, religion, and a whole lot of questionable fashion trends. Today, we're diving headfirst into medieval beauty standards. We'll cover what people wore, what features were desirable, and some of the most bizarre routines nobles and peasants used to keep up appearances. Across most of medieval Europe, beauty was deeply tied to religious values, social status, and practicality. For women, pale skin was considered ideal. It signaled wealth and nobility, because if you weren't tanned from working outside, clearly you lived a life of leisure. High foreheads were also in fashion, so women would pluck or shave the front of their hairlines to make their brows appear longer. Small, rosebud lips, delicate features, and soft, round bodies were in. Thinness wasn't the goal. Being plump meant you had enough to eat, a luxury. For men, broad shoulders, strong jawlines, and ruddy complexions were admired. A good beard was a sign of virility, but monks and clergy were expected to stay clean-shaven. Nobles had the resources to pursue beauty in more creative ways. Women used concoctions of lead, vinegar, and crushed pearls to lighten their skin. Yes, lead. It made you look ghostly pale, and also slowly poisoned you. But hey, beauty is pain, right? Eyebrows were kept thin or removed entirely. Hair was often braided or coiled under elaborate veils or wimples. A cloth headdress covering the head, neck, and the sides of the face. Hair color trends varied, but blonde was particularly admired in some regions, leading some women to bleach their hair with lye or sun exposure. Men wore fine tunics, hose, and cloaks with rich fabrics like velvet and fur. Jewelry and embroidered details showed wealth. Courtly appearance mattered, and nobles were expected to be clean, well-groomed, and elaborately dressed, even if they rarely bathed. Peasants, on the other hand, didn't have time for toxic face paint or 4-hour hairstyles. Daily wear was about durability. Most peasants wore simple woolen tunics or dresses, often layered with aprons or cloaks. Linen undergarments helped absorb sweat and dirt. Colors were mostly natural or muted, since dyes were expensive. Hair was usually kept tied back and covered, especially for women. Modesty mattered, and keeping your hair tidy was a form of social respectability. But even among the working class, there was pride in appearance. Cleanliness, neat clothing, and well-kept hair signaled self-respect and competence, especially on feast days or during festivals. Cosmetics existed, but they weren't anything like what we have today. And for nobles, looking naturally beautiful, while secretly cheating the system, was key. So that part isn't too different, at least. Women used powders made from ground starch, lead, or chalk to whiten their faces. Rouge made from beet juice, berries, or even animal fat was dabbed onto cheeks and lips. For skincare, rose water, egg whites, honey, and herbs like rosemary or lavender were used in tonics and masks. Queen Elizabeth of Hungary's famous Hungary water doubled as perfume and facial tonic. Some bizarre practices included using mercury to remove facial blemishes, or snail slime as a natural moisturizer. Headwear was huge, literally. For noble women, the higher and more elaborate, the better. Pennons, those cone-shaped hats with veils, were iconic in the late medieval period. Men favored hoods, hats with feathers or padded chaperon. Hair was curled or slicked back with animal fat or oils. Beards came in and out of style depending on region and ruler. King Henry V was famously clean-shaven, while Edward III sported a full beard that inspired a trend. Accessories like rings, belts, and brooches were everywhere among nobles. Even peasants wore simple leather belts, wooden pins, or woolen hats. Whether you were royalty or a farmer, how you presented yourself mattered. For nobles, beauty was tied to power, politics, and piety. A beautiful noblewoman might be used as a diplomatic tool through marriage. A nobleman was expected to represent his family in appearance as much as action. Peasants didn't have the same resources, but they still adhered to standards of modesty, cleanliness, and community-specific fashion. Beauty was more local, more natural, but still very important. And let's not forget that medieval fashion and grooming often served spiritual roles too. Covering hair, dressing modestly, and avoiding vanity were all acts of faith. So, were medieval beauty standards weird? Some, absolutely. But they were also deeply meaningful. Beauty was a language. It told others who you were, where you stood, and what you believed. It shaped identity across class, gender, and religion. Let me know your favorite in the comments, and hit subscribe for more medieval musings. I'll see you in the next one.